is sports presenting a lucrative career?
Quite a lucrative career. Yeah, because see, there are many few people who actually do that and are good at it.
Do the producers or does the channel really allow you to do that flavor, or is it like very tailored, like what you're saying?
No, they don't. They don't even let me shake my hands.
3 top skills that you require to be a good presenter.
Confidence. You have to be witty, and if you everything else falls into place.
What was the experience like meeting? Did you meet SRK?
Personal experiences are not to be discussed on camera. I think everyone who meets him says this, that when he speaks to you, he's only speaking to you. And you can sense how original it is. You can sense how genuine that is. That when he's looking at you, he's actually only looking at you.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Expert Talk with me, Bhavya Desai. In today's conversation, we've spoken to a very good friend of mine, Neha Anand. She's a very well-known sports presenter. Most of the people know her from ISL, where she was one of the presenters who would always host the show. So today's conversation, actually, we've spoken about how sports presenting is. Also, what is the journey that you actually can take to become a top sports presenter? How can you be successful at it? What it really takes behind the scenes to become a good sports presenter? Because it's what you and I see is basically what is being shot in general, but there is a lot of work which really goes on behind those scenes and how that practically works. Some things do, some things don't. And then we've also spoken about acting, because she's also an actor. She recently also hosted the IIFA green carpet. So a lot of interesting conversation about that, a little bit of masala as well, how those things work. A very interesting conversation, because sports presenting is something which is really, really interesting for us, because we've always been into sports right since childhood. So, and I know that a lot of us who actually watch a lot of sports like cricket, football and all of these things, तो ये सब चीज़ें वहाँ पे काफ़ी apply होती है. So interesting conversation. So I hope you really like it. If you like our work, then please subscribe to our channel. Also put the bell notifications on. Look us up on Instagram as well. If you're into audio podcasts as well, then these are the platforms that we are available in as well. Whenever you're on your next flight, or if you're traveling somewhere, you can always download, you can always listen to it instead of watching it as well. And see you in the next one. Hi, Neha. Welcome to Expert Talk with Bhavya Desai. Very excited to have you here, because काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज़ों के बारे में मुझे एक्चुअली बात करनी है. एंड आई थिंक थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट रहेगा शायद फॉर मी टू कॉल यू नेहा, बिकॉज
10 on 10. अभी तक एक भी बार निक्का नहीं बोला.
So how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, all good. So the reason I was very excited to talk about this is because I think sports presenting is something which is very, very interesting, because as you know, that I'm also a lot into sports. We all are actually very avid sports watchers as well. We keep watching and viewing a lot of sports. So that's why I'm super excited, because दिमाग में इतने सारे questions हैं. And then I want to talk a little bit about acting as well. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
On your new release. And then finally, I wanted to just get an idea about your recent hosting activities as well, because आपने अभी IIFA host किया, the green carpet. So there's a lot. There's a lot to uncover. So first up, I mean, what personally has been, I mean, एकदम ही ऐसे directly I'm getting into the more serious type of questions. What has been the most rewarding, because you've been into modeling, you've been into presenting, acting. So ये तीनों में से what has been the most rewarding so far for you personally?
Rewarding how? Monetarily or
Both?
personally?
Both. Let's start with personally first, and then of course monetary.
Personally, for sure, acting.
Yeah?
Yeah, there is nothing in the world that I would rather do than act. Like, I think the only thing that comes close is flying an airplane. So, yeah, acting personally is the only thing that is the end game for me. And monetarily, touch wood, all have been quite all right. But the thing with sports is, क्योंकि वो एक पूरा season होता है, So you know that for those 6 months, you're
Right.
getting paid an X amount, and
Understand.
that is guaranteed work for those 6 months. So monetarily, that has been more rewarding up to now. But then, thankfully, with the acting bit, obviously, उससे आपका modeling का career ज़्यादा हो सकता है, उससे brands आते हैं, उससे podcast आते हैं, उससे सब आता है. तो उससे
Right.
you know the exposure is more obviously.
Right,
So yeah,
right.
so I think.
But is like you said monetarily, so मेरे दिमाग में आ रहा है कि is sports presenting a lucrative career?
Quite a lucrative career, yeah, because see, there are many few people who actually do that and are good at it. So if you are being used season after season for doing the same thing, obviously you're getting paid more every season, and you are just blocked for 6 months. And then whenever there is anything with relative to that exact sport,
Right.
you are the go-to person. So yeah, it is a very lucrative career. It's
How
a very
challenging is it?
It is challenging if you don't know the sport. One, so obviously, first of all, you have to know the sport, which is
Right.
something that people don't understand. There are many people who don't know the sport at all. So see, there is sports presenting,
Yes.
and then there is being an anchor or a host.
Okay.
So when the match gets over and you are giving out an award or you're announcing that it's a sports presentation that is happening
Right,
post-match.
right.
So for that, you don't need to know the sport.
Hmm.
For that, you are just, you need to speak well, and you
Right.
need to speak live and be able to speak live. And you're just announcing names, right? So you
Right.
don't need to know the sport, that's fine. So that is another part of sports presenting.
Hmm.
But if you want to host an entire show related to sports,
Right.
which is like the pre-show and the mid-show and the post-show,
Right.
then you need to know the game.
Hmm.
So if you know the game and if you enjoy the game, that's an A+, because it's not work.
Right.
So touch wood, thankfully, like up to now with my sports or with the hosting, the green carpet bit, and with acting, it has never felt like work for me. Like for sports, it's like I know what is going to happen, who are the people coming into play, right? Because
Right.
I've been watching them, because
Yes.
I've been watching them even when I'm not being paid for it, I'm still watching the game.
Yes.
So even when I right now I'm not doing sports since since the last 1 year, I haven't been doing it, but I'm still watching the games. So I am still talking about the games.
Right.
So this is just go and talk about the game on TV.
Understand.
So
Yeah, because
what
I know,
better?
like, I think since childhood, since the time I think we know each other, I think you've always been into sports.
Yeah.
Like you've always watched sports,
Yeah.
especially football.
especially football.
So I think it was something which was like pretty much a natural
Yeah.
fit, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
which is also the reason why I think you're so good at it.
Yeah.
But can someone who is not so great or well versed with a particular sport, say for example football or cricket, can they learn on the job and become better?
They can learn on the job and become better, but it's a very hard task, because learning on the job, see, I can sit and I can talk to you, right? This is a live show that you're hosting. So there is zero room for error. So even if there is an error, there is someone who will cover it up for you, but there is nothing that can be edited out. So if you are not confident about
Right.
the sport, that will show in the way you speak, in the way you ask questions, and especially when you're talking to experts or when you're talking to the sportsman, the sports person.
Right.
If you ask them a question that you're supposed to ask, a question is being given to you, you ask them the question. Now what if their reply to you is with another question?
Right.
How will you
okay.
talk about that? How will you have a conversation? Then you look foolish on camera,
Yes.
and obviously that's not nice, because
Right.
that's happened in the past with a lot of people. So that's not a very nice feeling, right?
Right.
So you need to know the sport, because you won't have the confidence otherwise to talk to experts, to talk to the players, to talk to the coaches especially. And when you talk to them, you realize that they think, mostly, I'm sorry, I know it's misogynistic, but it is true, they think that many women in India especially do not know football, right? That's what people think.
Yes.
It's not true, but because I have so many friends who are avid football watchers, but when so many people talk to me, I know that they have the prejudice that they think I don't know the sport, so she'll not be able to ask me this technical question.
Right.
And if I talk to her this way, she might not be able to respond properly.
Understand.
And then I respond. And then they just look at me, and then there's this eye contact happening, and they're like, respect, respect. So you can learn on the job. See,
Right.
I'm still learning on the job. There are so many things that I didn't know about football, trust me, because we are football watchers, but there are so many things we still don't know, that the experts know, right?
Of
So
course.
you can learn on the job, yes, but you need to have a basic sense of the sport.
Got it. But I mean, so what you're saying actually about the prejudice in terms of women presenters or women
Yeah.
anchors,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to football, is quite interesting.
Yeah.
because I do feel, I think especially for something which was a base level sport of football,
Yeah.
I think it was probably one of the first things or first times, especially in Indian broadcasting or presenting, that they kind of used a female anchor as well.
Yeah, there is just one other girl that I know before me, two girls in fact before me who did, actually no, just one girl who was doing football, who was like an avid football watcher. Her name is Khuri. She is someone who was hosting football for a very long time, but she's very technical, like, she knows the sport inside out.
Right.
So I think after her, yeah, it's just me. Everyone else was just presenting. They weren't hosting an entire show. So I think, yeah, I was the only one after her who did that. And I think the thing with me is, I don't care what anyone else thinks. What I think as a watcher, to be honest, is that I don't host a show like an MC would host a show, or like someone who has a lot of technical knowledge would host a show.
Right.
I have this very fan-like approach. When you talk to me, I'm not so like, football is so cricket in India, of course, cricket is a classy game everywhere, but cricket in India is also very filmy. The way people talk to each other is very energetic, and the way like jhuma ke danda mara and all of that. So football here is very classy. You're talking like that, you're talking to experts, and there are these foreign experts, etc., all who come in. So they've made it a very serious kind of a thing, and football is not that serious. I mean, go to England, go anywhere in Europe, football. Yeah, you go anywhere abroad, football is not serious or classy at all. It's not the gentleman's game at all. Like, you have to be a rowdy fan to enjoy football, and that is what I am, and that is the kind of approach that I actually bring to the sport, because I would crack a joke and I would talk exactly like how I'm talking. But then I see a lot of people, when they're hosting, they just go into this accent space, because you have to be formal. So I think a lot of people in the talk, so it's like, a lot of people when they talk, and then, you get an accent, and, blah, 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 enunciating every word. And I'm like, that's not approachable. That's not what people are relating to or connecting to.
Right.
Because I don't think football fans want people sitting in a suit and tie just talking about the game like that. Because that's
Especially
not football
here,
is, especially here. Because anywhere you go in the world, people are watching football in a bar with a beer and peanuts. In India, right? Like, you're watching football with papad. You know what I mean? You're having a beer. You're not sitting and watching it like, oh my God, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So I think my approach is very casual when it comes to that. Like, I love cracking those jokes, and I wish that I'm actually working on something. Let's see if that works out. But yeah, I need football to become cool again.
Okay. But it's interesting that you say this in terms of approach, which is actually, like, of course, because I've seen some of the anchoring that you've done, especially during ISL and things like that. But does that, like, do the producers or does the channel really allow you to do that flavor, or is it like very tailored, like what you're saying?
No, they don't. They don't even let me shake my hands. So when I talk, because see, there's a frame that is set. Now it's also as per what works for the audience, or the audience that they are catering to, and obviously there's tons of research that has gone into that. But my thing is, I am talking to the fans who love football. The fans who love football are not going to care if while I speak, I do this. You know what happened? And this just happened.
Right.
They are not going to care if I'm moving my hands. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you see how football is so casual now abroad. Like, a Thierry Henry would come in and have a chat about his bow tie.
Right.
Or he would come in, or he'd like a Keane would come in. Okay, Keane is not the best example, but actually he is the best example. Yeah. Exactly, a super serious chap. But then see the conversations that he has. Like, see the conversation that Gary Neville have. Like, look at those conversations. Like, look at Kate sitting over there talking to three boys, and look at the jokes and the way they flow. The conversation just flows. It is not just about football. It is about not taking yourself very seriously.
I think that type of sports presenting has changed a lot, I think, the last few years. Wherein earlier as well, both with cricket and football, you would still see a lot of seriousness in the conversation. I think now, especially when you see Sky and all of these, it's a lot more, it's a little bit more of role play, entertainment as well.
It's fun because see, you need to grab someone's attention. The attention right now span is so low that people don't want to listen to people talking about, you're not reading the news. You're not watching a news channel.
Right.
Oh, so these are the 11 players. Oh, so he's doing a 4-4-3. we know that. What
Right,
else?
right.
Can you crack a joke? Can you grab my attention? Can you, do a one-up
Right,
on me?
right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I
You need
think
to
it's-
show your
yeah,
personality, and I think that is some personality, I think, is what is missing.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. But in a controlled environment, like for example, when it's like a live, whatever, anchoring or live show that you're doing, especially if it's on a channel, when it's broadcasted, you said there's no room for error
Yeah.
because everything is kind of curated or
Yeah.
whatever. There
Yeah.
might be stuff. Can you draw that picture for the viewers? Like what exactly, like say for example, if it's a pre-game show, when you are doing a build-up, then what goes on into it, like from a presenter's point of view, like if you're presenting?
So, firstly, there are no teleprompters. That is one thing.
Okay,
So
wow.
people think there are teleprompters.
Yes, I also
not
thought
where
there
not
would
where
be.
I worked. No. So, like
Okay.
the channel that I worked with, Star Sports, no teleprompters, and that is actually pretty amazing because I remember that when I started off, I used to tell them that I'll hold an iPad just so that I have a gist, like pointers, right? And you already have your in-ear with the producer,
Right.
but you think that holding the iPad would help me because I have the gist of the point that's coming up next.
Right.
Because every clip that is being shown, everything that I'm talking about is leading to something,
Right.
which is leading to something, which is leading to something, which
Right.
is leading to a break.
Right.
Even the break is timed. So when I tell you, okay, Neha, wind up 45 seconds to break or 10 seconds to break, there's a 10-second countdown. So I need to make sure that this person has stopped talking before and so that I get that much time to say that we're heading into break and be right back and do it in a very clean way. It can't be like, okay, Bhavya's talking, oh, great, Bhavya, so now I'm ending. You can't do that. It has to be in a very nice way,
to be
leading into
nuanced,
something.
right.
It has to be very smooth. So I used to take my iPad thinking that, the points are very clear obviously, but you want to remember the order. You don't really need to remember the order. You have the producer here telling you, okay,
Right.
Neha, next.
Next.
Okay, Neha, next. So next is just code words, right? So okay, it'll be, next is talk about the new players. Okay, Neha, team lineups next.
Right.
So that's it. And then I know how to elaborate on
Of
that.
course.
Okay, Neha, get the expert's opinion. I know how to elaborate
Right,
on that.
right.
Neha, break, etc. So, or a brand, thing collab that you have to talk
Right.
about. When I took the iPad with me, I realized that I was constantly looking at that because I thought it will make my life easier. He is still in my ear, but he's talking to 20 other people doing 20 other things.
Yes.
So he might not be able to tell me what's next. But someone will pick it up. So I realized that I was getting so dependent on that iPad that I was just going by the book. And it was nice, everything was perfect, but you weren't having fun with it.
No personality.
Because when I'm talking to the expert and the expert is talking to me, I'm looking at my iPad because I know the camera is not on me, the camera
Right.
is on him, right?
Right.
So I'm just looking at the iPad and I'm just saying, okay, so this is next, okay, so this is next, okay, so this is next. You lose the fun element in
Yes,
it.
true.
And even when you're coming in from a break, okay, you have the goals that happened or the chances that happened,
Right.
the clip is playing, right? So I could write down what I want to say about that, and anyways the camera is not on me, so I would read that off the iPad, like I've written something very nice, it's like poetry, and people will
Right.
clap, wow, Neha's written so well. And I would just read off, and you realize that when you're not reading off of that and when you're actually looking at what you want to
Yeah.
say,
It's
and
more
then you're saying
personal
it,
as well.
the
and-
personality comes in, because then the excitement comes in, because then you know that you're not safe with that iPad, and you know you have to get it right. And even if
Right.
I've made a mistake so many times. Even if you make a mistake, you laugh it off. It's fine. Like I once made a mistake where I forgot the name of the team.
Wow.
Like so basically you just freeze. The
Right.
camera's here and I'm like, welcome to so and so, and so and so versus so and so. So the last so and so like Chennai FC versus. And then my producer says,
prompted,
he says Mumbai City FC. I'm like,
Yeah.
Mumbai City FC. Okay then. You need to know how to roll with it. Which
No, but
is
it's
fine.
very difficult because I'll tell you why. Because I've also done a number of, panel discussions and stuff like that on these business channels.
Yeah.
And the first few times when you have the in-ear, it actually is a really, really
It's a pain.
different ball game.
Yeah.
For this reason only, actually, when you said that the producer is actually talking to everybody
Everyone.
who's there in the setup.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, zoom in this,
Yeah.
just hold
Yeah.
that frame, this.
Yeah.
And the thing is, because you are concentrating on where you need to take the panel, of course, in such cases, we don't really have like a set pattern of whatever. I'm the one who's basically running that whole panel.
Right.
But then, when you're concentrating, okay, you know what, who to bring in, who to jump off to, who basically you can ask this.
Yeah.
And then suddenly when you're thinking in a line of thought and some of the producer is like, okay, you know what, pan here, pan there.
Exactly.
Then I remember one time he was like, okay, can you just move the bottle a little bit? And I was not even concentrating on what they're saying. I was off.
Yeah.
And I was like, then again he's like, Bhavya, can you move the bottle? It's in the frame.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then the next time I just told him, I was like, I don't want this.
Yeah, you have that, and then it's like Neha wide cam, Neha your cam, Neha. So imagine, Neha, so you know when you're talking about like, going into the break, you're talking into the wide cam, but sometimes he wants it on your personal cam, on your close up cam. So I'm talking into this camera, you know, blah 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 blah. Neha your cam. So we're heading into break right now, and we'll see you after the break.
Yes.
Like, okay, what just happened?
I think it takes a little bit.
It takes some practice, but once you get the gist of it, it's fun.
But does the presenter usually do most of the homework, or that homework is usually done by a team which actually is then presented to you?
Oh, it's done by the team.
It's done by the team.
It's done by the team. So it depends on it depends on what kind of an anchor do you want to be. I know a lot of anchors who love giving out technical tidbits. Okay. All of those technical tidbits are given to you by your team. If you want to use it, basically, I'm giving you numbers, and I'm giving you formations, and I'm giving you what has been done in the past, and I'm giving you if this team wins or if it's a draw, what are the future permutations that can happen, right? So if you lose your train of thought anywhere, this is something for you to bank on. So that you have it in your memory somewhere or the other, which you can open up for discussion if you forget something or if you're stuck somewhere or whatever, blah blah. So I have a photographic memory. Okay, I am like a poppet. You give me a book right now, I will read that entire book for the next day. Today, I will remember the entire book. Okay, tomorrow 50%, day after 100%. It's gone. I don't remember any of it. So that's how I've cleared all my exams. So these guys, they used to send me these technical bits and these numbers, and I would remember everything from the percentages to the score lines to everything to the names and blah blah. And they'd be shocked that how does Neha know this? So I would just, while the show is on, I don't need to say a certain technical thing, but just because I remember it, I would suddenly just throw it in between. And they would just all look at me and say, oh wow, Neha. So you need to know where to use it. Otherwise, if you keep putting in technical terms, it's the expert's job. It's his line of work to tell me these things. I am not here to give my opinion. I am here to ask for his opinion. So I need to ask him the questions. I don't need to keep giving the answers.
I understand.
That is something that you need. But then again, when all boys meet and all boys talk, boys know these technical terms. So they know how to play around that. For me, again, I am someone who doesn't want to throw in numbers and, like, I don't want to talk about, okay, if I talk about possession, I'll talk about possession. But I'm not going to talk about 2 साल पहले उसने इतना possession था, 2 game पहले ऐसा possession था. मैं आज के possession के बारे में बात करूंगी बस. मैं वो numbers नहीं दूंगी कि पिछले game में क्या था, कौन कितना भागा, आज कितना सबसे fast कौन था, etc. I'm not going to do that.
But do you think that is what actually also, like for example, like an ardent football viewer or a fan,
doesn't want to know.
Do you think? No.
I don't know. No? See, there are some, but then, do you know anyone that we know who cares about this?
I think
the top speed today. How many kilometers did this player cover today? Do you care?
So I think a little differently. Yes, I definitely will not. I think it's a piece of information which really, with a good graphical view, makes it really interesting. For example, when you talk about this, the thing that comes to my mind was this, this Ronaldo sprint, which they showed in such a beautiful manner. Information like that, which draws the example of how actually a Ronaldo is faster than a lot of the other people, even at that age, just puts it into picture. But like for example, infographic or information about the number of passes. Like I know that you're a Man U fan as well. So how many passes did Man U do in the previous match as compared to this match? I think that makes it interesting.
The graphic sense sort of makes it interesting. But again, that's what I'm saying. That's not something that I want to discuss
at length
with experts at length. Exactly. You've seen that graphic, and all you can say is, in passing, you can talk about that. Like if the performance was obviously very bad and there is like a massive difference in the number of passes and it's like, what the hell just happened, then yes, you will discuss that at length. But otherwise, I think the graphic explains it. And that's how we talk as well. Like, when we have some graphics that only the important information can
Got
be
it,
discussed
got
and
it.
given out.
Right. So is it like that? Like, for example, a basic skeleton in terms of the numbers are also given by the research team, and then the presenter picks like what they want to
they
talk
want
about.
to talk about, yes.
Okay, so
and the experts also will tell you that, okay, this is something that we should talk about for
Right.
sure. This is something that we should talk about for
I
sure.
understand. Great. I want to talk a little bit. You brought out cricket, and I actually want to talk about cricket v football.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that football gets a stepmotherly treatment in India as compared to cricket?
For sure. And I don't
think
know
every
why. Yeah, every sport. Yeah. And I don't know why. See, if you say every sport, I might counter with the fan base of every sport is not big enough, right? But the fan base of just people who watch football is huge. But then again, these are the people who watch the Premier League and Champions League. I'm talking about the Indian Super League.
Yeah.
So when I started working with the Indian Super League, I didn't know jack about Indian football. But once I started watching it, once I started hosting, obviously, I haven't hosted the Super League since last season. I still watch games because I'm so invested in it now. Like,
Right,
I know
right.
players. So I know players when they get called up for, the national team. I know that, oh my God, why didn't he take this one? Why didn't he take this one? So I've become so objective. Like, if you ask me which is my favorite team, I can't tell you a favorite team because I look at players individually. Because I see individual performances now. So I think that has also changed my
Right.
perception when it comes to watching the Premier League and the Champions League. Because, like, obviously a United fan always. But I see players individually. So I can appreciate players individually.
Right.
So sadly what has happened in India is that people only watch international football. I hardly know anyone. I actually don't know anyone except for my friends and family who work in the sports who, like, I hardly know people who watch Indian football, and
Why
that's
do you
really
think
sad
that is,
because
though?
they are mind blowing.
Why do you think that is?
I think the fan base has already been made, and it's difficult to flip people over and bring them onto this side. I think people really think that these players are not good enough or not fast enough and all of that. But trust me, I watch these games. Half of these games are more interesting than the Premier League games that I watch.
Really?
They are very interesting. We have top class players. Some of our players are so good, especially these guys from the Northeast. Oh my God, these players are mind blowing. There are so many of them. Like, I don't want to take names because there are so many names and I want to miss out on taking names.
Right.
But we have such amazing players. And I know that infrastructure is being brought up to international standards as well. So I think once that happens, it's a process. But I think we are halfway there. It should take about 8 to 10 years. And I think we will have that fan base. Like, you can't touch cricket in India. Cricket in India is religion. But
Because no, every time actually when the conversation always happens about football as well, the most important point or the most critical point that's always brought forward is the quality.
right.
You know, like for example, most of the international countries as well, like Saudi now is trying to do, they brought in Ronaldo with like a lot of other players as well, Sane,
Yeah.
Mane,
Mane.
to bring him, bring all of their level of football up. But do you think the quality of football is good in India?
I think it's outstanding. You have to see the players that they bring in. You have to see the players that they bring in from the international leagues as well. The the English players, the Australian players, they are mind blowing. All of these players do so well. They play in so many different leagues. It opens up a world of football that I've never seen before because I see so many of these international players who come here to play. When they leave from here, now they have reached a certain age where obviously they'll never go back to the Premier League, and so many of them have not like reached the top tier teams,
flight,
right?
yeah.
So even after they're done in India, they'll either join some Thai league or they'll join some league in Dubai. So Dubai has so many opportunities for football. So it's an entirely different world that opens up for you, and I think that's when you realize that there is more to football than the Premier League and the Champions League or La Liga. So there are so many other leagues that you get to follow, and so many of these players are doing so well. Like, we hardly spoke about the Saudi League ever till Ronaldo, put them on the map. Like, I don't think I even knew they existed, to be honest. Like, Ronaldo put them on the map, and now everybody wants to watch those games and talk about those teams, and so many people are migrating. Like Inter Miami. Look at what Beckham has done with them. Like, he started with his LA Galaxy. Look at what Messi has done with them, right? So I think it'll take someone to make that one big first step, and I think the Ambanis are doing a very good job with the Indian Super
I
League.
was actually just going to ask you, like, in terms of presenting as well, in terms of like since the time Reliance has come in,
Yeah.
do you think it has bared fruit, or the expectancy of how it would have taken off is at the same level where they thought?
I think that's what I said. See, I think it's a very long process. You have to be very patient to build a certain fan base, because I know the infrastructure is there. I know the standard is there, the quality is for sure there, the talent is there. They're getting coaches like Robbie Fowler was here coaching East Bengal. Like, I was fangirling. So, they are getting the coaches that you need. They have the perfect experts. They have great commentators. All of that is happening. I think it'll just take some time. And I just hope that it happens in this generation, because I would love to see Indian football reach like top heights.
You meet obviously a lot of greats from the
Yeah,
game. Of
yeah.
course, you mentioned about Robbie Fowler as
Yeah.
well, of course, Liverpool legend.
Yeah.
What they say about Indian football, like when they see
I'm
stuff.
not going to tell you what Robbie Fowler said, because Robbie Fowler said a lot of foul things, and Robbie Fowler was red carded for half the season.
Right.
Like, he would sit over
Yeah.
there, and this was during COVID, I remember. So we used to play in the bio bubble. So he would sit alone in the stands,
Right.
because there was
Not
no
allowed to
crowd,
be
right?
there, right.
So Robbie Fowler was not very happy with. He was not very happy with the referees. He had a lot of things to say about the Indian referees. But otherwise, I think everyone else that I've met, like Paul Dikov and Dennis Irwin, etc., I don't think they've seen much of Indian football to say anything. But I know that they've worked with a lot of people from the grassroots level, a lot of people who win contests here, a lot of teams that win contests here with Apollo. So Apollo has this tie-up with Man United,
Right.
where they take teams that play all over India, and then the one team plays at United. And so many, I think under 16, some boys, they get to play and coach with the United first team coaches.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so off season time. So I think there's a lot of stuff happening. I know the Kerala Blasters. Which team? I think Barcelona, or I don't know which team, but some very big team. I think Barcelona. Like, don't my head, but yeah. So a lot of top teams are opening up their coaching centers, etc. here. And they want talent from India to come train with them abroad. So a lot of that is happening. And
Interesting.
yeah, but I don't think the players have watched Indian football. Like Dennis Irwin has never watched. I'm pretty sure they've not watched. Like Gary Neville, I know Gary Neville was here. So I don't think they've watched enough of Indian football or are aware of Indian. Like, the only person they know is Chetri, and like, why not? He's a legend.
Of
So
course.
yeah.
Gary Neville, I think he has like so much of beef anyways in general. I think it's difficult for him to find time, because either he's lighting up fires or he's dozing out fires most of the time. But the banter between him and Carrick,
I love
Carrick
it.
is just
I live for it.
amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, they, I think, are like, how do I explain? Like, who's probably like a cricket equivalent? Or maybe a Sunil Gavaskar and a Ravi Shastri. Although they don't really have banter, but they have like a very
that is the
interesting-
Indian level of banter. It's very difficult. I think that's one of the reasons why people are afraid to show the personality side, because if you try to, you can't, people take offense very easily. So you can't have a lot of type of jokes.
Right.
Like, your jokes have to be very desi for people to understand, like a
Right.
Sidhu joke or a
Right.
Gavaskar joke. They know what the audience likes, right?
True.
So they know how to crack those jokes. So it's very difficult, I think. But then the football audience is very different.
Right.
So yeah.
But from a presenting point of view, like, do you think you mentioned this earlier as well, that it's still very difficult? Like, for example, what cricket, I think if you take like Mayanti, right? I think she's an excellent presenter when it comes to what you call cricket as well, both in terms of knowledge, in terms of presenting. And
I think
stuff
she's
like
in football as well, if I'm not wrong.
Is
I'm
it?
not sure.
that. Okay. So
add her to the list of people before me, sorry.
So, do you think, but it's a very, very uphill task in that respect to actually get the respect of the people you are working with, because you're a woman?
I think getting, not anymore. I think cricket is something that people don't doubt your knowledge as of like right now. I think Mandira Bedi cracked that for every girl in India. where, you know, not just a pretty face, and even though she was a very pretty face, and I honestly think she didn't know much, but she learned on the job, and she did it really well. So, you know, you have the confidence is half the battle won.
Right.
And it wasn't her job, again, it wasn't her job to give out technical terms.
Yes.
It wasn't her job to say, "Arey, wo out nahi tha." You know what I mean? Like, but this is what you'll say, "Arey, wo out nahi tha." You're not going to discuss कि उसने ball ऐसा किया, वो ऐसा कर reverse swing से आया and blah blah blah. But I think right now a lot of doors have already been opened. People have already, you know, shattered that glass ceiling. So it has become easier. But again, football is something like you said. You know, cricket people expect you to know. People think कि ठीक ये तो आता ही है. But football is still something जिसको I think थोड़ा time लगेगा for people to understand that, you know, women can speak about football on live TV.
Got it. What is the best route to take if you want to become a sports presenter today?
I have absolutely no idea because so many people ask me this, and I'm like, okay, let me tell you how I went for this.
Right.
So I was signed up with this talent agency, Times Talent, which is Times of India, which is, you know, all your Miss Indias and Miss Universe, etc. So they send a bunch of models for the presenting job, which is, you know, hello and welcome to so and so, the post-match presentation job, right? Where you don't need to know the sport at all. So I went for that audition, and they started auditioning us for even the main show, because they were trying to get someone else, because they already had a girl who was doing it and they wanted a new face, right? And why not? Let's try. Even if we give them, you know, like a list of things to say, and you have the in-ear, so you learn on the job, which is a lot of people, which is something a lot of people tried. So I think I must have done some 6, 7, 8 auditions, and every time I went in, I'm like, you know, what are you all doing? I know the sport. Why are you? I didn't know that every time I was rehearsing with them, auditioning with them, I was getting better. So they realized that she's getting better, and that's why they kept calling me. And I thought they're just calling me, you know, why are you calling me again and again? So your office is so far. So I was, So that is how I got into it. I started presenting, and I think within a month of presenting, doing the post-match presentations, they just threw me to the deep end without any rehearsals. I started hosting the show, and that's how I got my job, my sports presenting job. So it's not something that I, you know, went after. It's not something that I thought I could get or I would do. It was just something that you had to be a model to get into that in the beginning, at least from my agency, right? But I don't like modeling a lot. Like, ads is fine. I cannot do ramp. I can't wear heels. I hate it. And I can't do ramp because you need to be in that world then. Because acting is different, ramp modeling is very different. Like, even ads are different and ramp modeling is very different. That's an entirely different career. So you either excel at this, or you pursue this or this. You can't do both. It's very difficult.
It's not either
so so I couldn't, you know, follow up with the ramp thing. I tried doing it quite a bit, but I'm not built for ramp anyways, you know, so I couldn't do all the shows, but I could do some shows, because you can't get up and say, nahi, I will not do swimwear. They'll be like, you know, there are 5 shows today, one is this, and Neha is saying, no, I will not do swimwear. Neha is saying, I can't wear stilettos. You can't do all that, obviously. So that is something I didn't enjoy, the ramp stuff. And when this came along, I just went, poof, wow, like a eureka moment. Like, wow, this is perfect. So I started presenting, and then the anchor thing happened. Now, like, this is even more perfect. So yeah, that's how the presenting bit happened.
What are the, say, three top skills that you require to be a good presenter?
Confidence. You have to be witty and love the sport. I think love the sport is top. If you love the sport, everything else falls into place. If you love the sport, you're confident. Everything else falls into place. I really think that people lack wit right now. There are a lot of people who do everything by the book, and I think everyone now comes so well prepared that, you know, like, whenever we talk about acting, you know, it's the same thing. Everyone comes by the book. Acting करनी है, चलो अभी dance class जाओ बेटा, चलो अभी juice पियो, चलो अभी gym जाओ, चलो अभी 6 pack बनाओ, very good, अभी तुमने face white हो गया तुम्हारा, ये हो गया, वो हो गया, बाल ठीक हो गए. Everyone has the same haircut, everyone has the same bronzer, everyone has the same everything, but the wit is missing. Like, you need to have the tadka, and I think that is something that like, you know, that is why you stand out, and that is why I think that because that is something that I would look at, I would want to look at.
Right. But I think personally, I mean, I feel that do you feel that the generation of like presenters which were there earlier to where we are kind of heading is not really that the quality is kind of dipping?
I think so.
You do
I
as
think
well?
so, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because from the time, because as we discussed earlier and I mentioned as well, sports is something we've been like really crazy behind since childhood. And you take, like you mentioned Mandira as well, of course, and after that there were like, people like Richie Beno, of course you always had like Sunil Gavaskar, XYZ, all of these guys, Jeffrey Boycott, all of those.
These are names that come like this. But
Exactly.
I think, but when you say that, I also think that the generation that you're catering to, you are the kind of person who would sit and listen to a Jeffrey speak. You would listen to Ravi Shastri speak. The generation today is very different. The generation today doesn't want to see them speaking. The generation today would want Chris Gale to probably do a little dance and that's it. Would probably do a Brett Lee little. The generation that is watching has also changed, Bhavya. So that's the problem. I think that's where there's a disconnect.
Yeah, because I feel quality, like when I see a lot of the stuff which is there, unfortunately, I also haven't seen much of ISL in the last season. But when I watch cricket as well these days and I see a lot of the presenting which is happening, I really think that it really lacks any punch.
Because you've seen the greats, no?
Yeah, because you don't see, the thing is, I think, like you mentioned, I think a brilliant point is that personality. What makes you hooked on to the presenter is the personality.
Exactly.
And I feel that when you see these presenters, and nothing to take away from them, I'm sure it's a very difficult job. But it's not like that flavor is not there. You don't feel like sitting there and listening to them.
That's what I'm saying. Just a pretty face, just a handsome face, no matter how much knowledge you have, if you are not making me want to watch your show, like even if you were watching Mandira Bedi just because of what she was wearing, which sari was she wearing today, which designer, fine, she made you want to watch her, right? So I think that is something that is lacking today.
Yeah. Interesting. Tell me about like acting. Like I know that like you've been wanting to do acting since the longest time, of course, because I know this. Does acting help you in presenting in any way? It does?
Yeah.
Like
even modeling. So my first show as a model was with Mark Robinson, who is one of the industry greats. And I was told, don't tell him that this is your first show, he won't take you. So he chose, like out of some 20 girls, he had to choose like 10 Indian girls and 10 whatever. So he chose me as one of the Indian girls. And I was like, oh wow. I was like, okay, what do I do? So this girl who was my agent, she told me, don't tell him it's your first show. Like, don't say anything. So I said, but he's talking a language that I don't understand. He's like, okay, this is so this is the stage. Okay, just do a 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. Some I don't even remember what he said. So I said, and I came back and I tell this girl, he just said this. So he's like, okay, no, he means that you go full full ramp, then come back halfway, then go full ramp, then come back halfway, then go to the left and blah, blah. This is the code that he used. And I said, okay, what do I do? So he's going to sense that this is not your first show. And I'm like, no, he won't know that this is not my first show because I'm going to act like I'm a supermodel. So you just act like you're a model. It's a role that you're playing, right? I think it's a performance that you plan to give. And I think the same thing worked with my presenting, that you just go onto the camera and today you're a presenter. Today you're a sports presenter. So everything that you've seen, everything that you've learned, everything that you've absorbed and observed, you give out.
There's a question that's always fascinated me about like people who are usually into acting. And I think about it for the longest time. Do you think at some point of time, I think when you are experienced enough in that respect, like from a body of work perspective, that it becomes second nature, and then, I mean, maybe a little philosophical in terms of the question, it becomes second nature, and then somewhere the fine line between whether you're acting and whether you're real is like gone?
I wouldn't know that yet, but I don't think
you met so many people. I mean, you're managing Pariniti as well. So
see, I know that there is an on-camera personality and then there's an off-camera personality, obviously. So I've seen so many people who are very talkative, who are very extroverted, and then you actually realize they're actually introverts. Or then there are so many people who are very introverted off camera. And there are so many people who are very shy on camera and off camera they're like, dynamite. So I think there are two personalities. Everybody has that. And you save, like, even for me, I think if you see me at home, there are days when I haven't spoken for 2 days, otherwise you put me in a party and I'm talking 24/7 constantly, like I'm known as a chatterbox. But then at home sometimes I don't speak at all, so you're just saving your energy where you need to give it. So there is an on-camera personality and off-camera personality, that's for sure.
But do you think like people are able to identify that difference within them?
Of course, yes, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, because I've heard like a lot of people from the industry as well, because of course friends and XYZ, so they are like, they actually say that, it's very different from what you actually see them. Everything is basically a persona in terms of like what they're putting out in terms of content. And
which is true. This is what I want you to, this is the side of me that I choose to show to you today. This is what I want you to think about me. Now, there are many people who are actually quite manipulative in a way that they know how to work the camera, they know how to work the audience, and I think that's brilliant. Once you learn how to do that, that's how you make that connection, that's how you make your fans.
Right.
But I know a lot of people, like when you talked about, the philosophical part of it, is when you don't know where to draw the line, right? I know a lot of people who say that wo character mein hi reh gaya, etc. I don't think that happens. Like, there are some people who take themselves very seriously. Right. Like, I know what method acting is. I'm not a method actor. I know what method acting is and how serious people take some certain characters. I know how to, see, there are two types of people, right? Some people can just switch off and switch on like that. Some people take some time. Like, if I have to do something where I'm crying or, when I'm screaming, obviously, that is going to change my headspace for some time. But I don't think you can stay in the same headspace for a month. That's not possible. But then I do know, like, you hear of people isolating themselves for months for a role. So that changes your headspace. And we know what happened during COVID when we were isolated and how it affected our mindset, right? So I know that also happens. But within yourself, so you know whether this is the real you or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting because I was also actually thinking about the same example. I think the famous one, Ranveer, is what you. When I read about it as well, I was also quite shocked.
Like Heath Ledger, Ranveer, all of them, Joaquin Phoenix, all of them. So they keep talking about how they isolate themselves and for a certain role. Like, I know so many people. Like, I can't name this person, but I know this one person had to showcase that he's in pain in a certain scene. So the pain had to be visible on his face, like, physical pain of, like, something is hurting him. So he actually tied a rubber band, like let a rubber band pinch him so hard so that you could actually see that. And it makes sense, like whatever works for you. It makes sense. Whatever works for whoever. Like, there are certain people who would do it without any of that. But whatever works, whatever floats your boat.
Wow, interesting. Yeah. But yes, I have surely read some info about like these things where they, like for example, the Three Idiots famous scene where they actually like
got drunk. But that's the best part. So that's the easiest and coolest part, I think.
Do you think presenting is a good avenue to actually get into acting?
Not really. It's
worlds apart.
Worlds apart. Yeah, completely different. Acting is a very different ball game. Yeah, people think that just because you're comfortable in front of a camera, you can act. That is not true. Acting is grabbing someone's attention and changing and shaking their belief and making them believe what you are trying to make, what you are trying to show, right? Presenting is just showing them your personality. And presenting, again, you can change your personality. That is one of the coolest things I've learned, that you can decide if I want the audience to think that I'm bubbly or, I am someone who's very, composed and calm, etc. You can do all of that. You can play around with that. But acting is where I need your emotions to connect with me. So when I'm acting and if, if I do a scene that is very serious and I don't see people around me, like, with a tear in their eye or something like that, I've not done my job right. Acting is worlds apart, and I don't think it helps you. Even the worlds are very different. Like, the people who work in acting and the people who work in sports are completely different. Sports presenting is a job, like a proper job, like time to time, like like a proper job. Acting is very different.
You don't see any parallels or any, like, what do you call, points which you can actually, at least some common ground that you can draw between the two?
The confidence, of course, because see, if you are confident on camera, that is the one thing that will obviously help you a lot, right? So I think because I was on live TV, I was very confident. Because you're on live TV, you know there's no error for judgment. So I know that I have to say certain lines at certain points and I cannot mess that
No
line
takes.
up. So, that helped me with my dialogue, of course. But again, that is my pop-up memory, that I never had a problem with that anyway. It just takes away the nerves. That is something that I can, draw a parallel with. Like, it absolutely takes away the nerves. And another thing is, I think you know how to endear yourself to the audience.
Right.
So that is something that might work, obviously. Like, I know when I'm doing, my hosting stuff or whatever, so I have these fans, who talk to me and they like certain things I say, certain jokes I crack, etc. So you have a little bit of a fan base there. So when they, what endears you to your audience.
Right.
But that will not work in a film. That will work in a podcast, in an interview. But yeah, I think the confidence that you get being on camera, on live TV is something that will help you with a film.
It's interesting that you said about like this thing, because so what comes to my mind is, setup wise, what is more intimidating? A setup which is actually in the presenting setup, wherein you know that you're doing a live show, as compared to something which is a film setup where you're shooting?
I'm going to sound very vain when I say this, but I just love the job so much. It has never been intimidating to me. The only thing that intimidated me a little bit in the beginning was the live TV setup, because of the countdowns that you get, because that was a world that I was not a part of ever. And I didn't know this is how it works. With acting, at least, I know that, okay, this is how it works. You're just there, these are the cameras, you act, right? And of course, there are many technicalities involved. But I think what was intimidating for me was the live TV setup, only because I didn't know the format of it. So I didn't know, again, looking at your camera, you don't know whether you're looking at this camera or this camera. And then they tell you that no Neha wide cam, no Neha close-up cam, no Neha your cam, no Neha blah blah. So that is something that was intimidating to me in the beginning, just because I didn't know of it.
But the countdown that you mentioned, is it like that when they give the countdown, I know what you're talking about, and that there is a little bit of room for nothing at all? Exact time.
Cut. This has happened to me so many times that I've asked a guest, a question, and they'll tell you, Neha, 30 seconds to break, okay? So now if I have 30 seconds, if I can, after the guest finishes speaking, if I can cover up those 30 seconds with something,
right,
then fine, I straight lead into break. But if I am being adventurous, I can probably throw in another, what do you think, to the second guest. And the second guest knows, because he can also hear that there are 30 seconds, right? So he knows that he has to wrap up in 20-25, so that I have 5 seconds to say, guys, it's time for break, I'll see you after break. If he doesn't wrap up, if he is not smart enough, or if he's lost his train of thought, and or he's not listening to it, whatever, or he just wants to screw with me. He hasn't wrapped up and he's giving me only 3 seconds, he's giving me only 2 seconds, or he's not wrapped up, or then I have to cut him because he's going on and he doesn't look like he's going to wrap up. And he's not listening to the producer. So the producer will be like, Neha 6 seconds, Neha 5 seconds. Okay, that was great, I have to cut you short, I'm very sorry guys, time for break, see you on the other side.
God.
So you have to do that. It's a hard cut. It's a very hard cut. While you're talking, they'll cut it. It'll look very ugly, and then obviously you will get emails about it. But while you're talking, they'll cut it. This is the time frame. This is the time frame. You can go overtime towards the end of the show, a little bit here and there. If the show is interesting, they'll let you go overtime. That's with permission. But it's not because you didn't stop talking.
Got your point.
It's a very hard cut.
Interesting.
So it's I know how. So this is very cool. So this is how. So Paul Macefield is one of our experts, right? Like one of my favorites, and one of the nicest people I work with. Like we grew up watching him, right? So in the beginning, he would cover up for me. Like obviously you're learning. So if there are 30 seconds or there's a minute to break, so I've already asked him a question, and he knows that वो 1 minute के लिए अभी मैं 50 सेकंड तक बात कर लेता हूँ, ताकि इसके पास 10 सेकंड या 7 सेकंड ही है, एंड शील आराम से से गाइस इट्स टाइम फॉर अ ब्रेक एंड विल सी यू ऑन द अदर साइड. अगर मैं उसको 20 सेकंड दे दूंगा तो वो क्या करेगी फिर वो 20 सेकंड के लिए, राइट? So unless she knows the sport, or like which after a couple of games I know how to work with those 20 seconds. So this is how he would talk, and he has to cover up that entire time. So this is how both of us started talking to each other. Oh, Neha, I don't know what to tell you about that. All right. Let me tell you. No. I mean, I could, but then would I want to? So this is how you just cover up time, cover up time,
right.
cover up time, and I think that's brilliant. So you learn these nitty-gritties.
What is the most memorable moment of sports presenting that comes to mind?
I swallowed a fly on live TV.
Really?
Yeah, there was a fly stuck here. I swallowed a fly, and I think one big bug went into my eye on live TV. So while I'm on TV, I swallowed a bug. So there was like a bug attack that happened in Goa, and a very big bug. I think I got a sting or something. It wasn't a bee, but a big bug went into my eye. So while I'm talking, I went like that.
Whoa.
And yeah, my eyes were watering, and I'm still talking, and I'm laughing, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
So what happens during this time? Do you still roll, or do they tell you?
You're still rolling.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're still rolling. And
Wow.
like obviously, like if you're in pain or something has happened, then Paul would take over, or the other expert would take over.
Yeah.
Paul is like the head expert, right? So Paul will
Right.
take over and he'll do the show if it's problematic. Like they'll ask me, Neha, are you okay? Neha, are you okay? Or then they'll shift to Paul, and then Paul will start talking.
Right, yes.
Or then, but yeah, or you just laugh about it. We would just laugh. I was like, okay, my eye, I can see water coming out.
That is genuinely funny.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Acting. How's the experience of Joon?
Oh, yeah, amazing. One of the best blessings that I've got in life, which it's been in the making. Like the idea of Joon has been happening since a very long time. So my director, Barnali Re Shukla, she is someone that I have known since I got out of school. So she used to be a writer with Balaji. One of the many things she does. She was a writer with Balaji. So the day she saw me, when I was interning with Balaji after school, the day she looked at me, she said, "Oh, she's the heroine," and everyone said, "Huh?" And she said, "Oh, she's the heroine," and you know what I looked like back then. So she's like, "She's the heroine." So everyone said, "No, she's a new intern. She's just out of school." And she said, "No, she's a heroine. She should be the heroine." And that's how the conversation started. And this was years ago, right? Like after that, I've done college, I've done my flying, I've done Yash Raj, I've done everything. So she's always kept in touch, off and on, Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. And then 2014, I think, I met her at one of the IIFAs. I think it was Macau, where I bumped into her and she saw me and she just said heroine. And I turned around, it was her. And, I gave her a hug. And then again, she's like, "No, we should meet, we should talk." I said, yeah. And then 2016, 2017, she got in touch with me again saying that, "Listen, are you really into acting now?" I said, yeah. So I've quit my job with Yash Raj and, I'm concentrating only on acting. And this is what I want to do. So she said, "I'm writing something, let's talk." I said, okay. And that let's talk happened. And then I think during COVID, she just randomly called me once and she said, "I have to narrate something to you." And then she narrated this thing to me. We signed the film during COVID where we weren't allowed to, the socially distanced signing. We started shooting during the unlockdowns. Like, जैसे lockdown खुला थोड़ा shoot किया, जैसे lockdown खुला थोड़ा shoot किया. And there were so many restrictions and so many prohibitions, etc. So it was a very exciting experience. But one of the most memorable experiences for so many reasons.
Interesting. I mean, such a long time when it actually takes to do stuff, from compared to what you hear from a lot of people. Like they do 30 days in 30, like for example, Akshay Kumar.
Yeah.
You do 3-4 films, what do you call it, in a year. What does that do to you in terms of mentally when you're actually
taking
working?
That much time? It plays with your head, obviously, because you want to see the end line, right? And once that also happens, even the release takes a lot of time. So there is so much content right now that is being bombarded onto OTT channels where it's very difficult to filter through good and bad, and there is mediocre as well. So when you see that a good film is not getting released or a good film is taking time to release, you actually, this is something that I actually thought about, that why did it take so much time to, come out? It didn't take a very long time, but I'm just saying that I thought it would be immediate.
Right.
Because they have 100 good films waiting to release. So you are in a calendar somewhere, right? There are films before you. And not just that, then you see mediocre stuff on so many OTT channels, and then you think these mediocre things, which I would like, and I watch mediocrity. I love mediocrity. Like I watch trash TV, I watch trash movies, and I absolutely love them. Like I don't watch them to make fun of them. I watch them because I actually enjoy them. So when you watch these kind of movies, you actually think that, you know, this platform has these movies, and you know, my film is stuck in a calendar somewhere. So it does play with your confidence a little bit, but I think eventually if you have a good film, you will get a release, and you know, it will work out. But as a new actor, it does take a toll on your confidence. It takes a toll on, you know, because you're waiting to be introduced, right? It's not, you know, that you'll only get more work once this comes out. Right. It's not like you have 5 other films in your kitty where, you know, the director doesn't need to see your film and he's like, you know, nahi, iska to pata hai hame, so, you know, she can do my next film. I need this film to come out so that the director knows that so and so film is out, and now I can probably cast her in things. So that is one of the things that, you know, I was waiting for Joon to happen, but then, you know, of course the COVID thing happened, and etc, etc. But I think it all played out like very well. One of the cool stories is that Nali didn't tell me that the film is releasing on Amazon Prime. It was releasing on another platform as well. And she had told me about the other platform, and she said that will release on so and so date, but don't announce it yet. I will tell you when to put it on social media. I said okay. And this one morning, randomly, you know, my dog, Dobby, I wake him up at 6 a.m. to send him for his walk. So I wake up and I just randomly check my phone, and Barnali has tagged me on a post at 7 a.m. Introducing Joon. Our film is now out on Amazon Prime, and I am gobsmacked. And Amazon Prime is huge, and you have my face, and I'm on the Amazon Prime store. And I'm like, people are going to pay money to watch me? Like OTT is one thing where you actually think that, okay, you know, fine, you have a subscription, which is great. And so, you know, everyone's going to watch. And then you see you're in the store, you know, people are going to pay money to watch. So it came out on Amazon Prime. She didn't tell me, that was a surprise. So it came out on Amazon Prime, and the posters are my face. So I'm like, so imagine Shah Rukh Khan is just sitting and scrolling. Like, आज मैं क्या देखूं? Like, अरे चलो आज मैं ये देख लेता हूँ. So yeah, it's out on Amazon Prime. It's out on Apple TV Plus, which is really cool. So you know, when I'm on the Apple TV app, and I suddenly see the Brad Pitt, George Clooney new movie, I see something else, and I see my face there. I'm like, okay, this is seriously cool.
Feels nice.
Yeah, feels very nice.
SRK actually I want to talk about, because I know the affinity that all 3 of you sisters have for SRK. It's just, I think it's crazy. Yeah. I don't think I'm sure there must be a lot of people, and of course there are fans, but I think the sort of tagging, the sort of messages that I've seen on social media.
Shah Rukh Khan is personal. Matlab, it's like I can tag him anywhere. Like, I'm actually scared that, like, I do know him personally, off and on, for, like, you know, for whatever purposes. But like, thankfully he doesn't is not very social media savvy, or he's savvy. Sorry, he's not very social media friendly. He doesn't. I don't think he follows a lot of people. So जिस दिन वो देखेगा कि ये लड़की ने मुझे किस स्टोरी पे क्या टैग किया है, मतलब I tag him like he's my buddy, right? Which he is in my head.
But you know, I think you know what? So here's the thing. What I'm kind of getting at is that, see, I think there are very different type of people. Like, there are people who actually everybody has thoughts, right? Then there are people who will really put it out there, and you need courage. You really need like balls to actually get out there and just say what you're thinking. Yeah. In terms of whether it's like the DDLJ tribute and stuff like that. And I've seen you guys, like you, Anjali, of course. Dimpa, I think I've seen still less. But,
yeah, she's married. She has to save face. I'm not. I can do what I want. I'm single. I can do what I want. So
it really takes courage to put those thoughts out there in terms of like, because it's yeah, like if you see my feed, I think I'm also a recluse completely. I just share because I have to. Otherwise,
you don't share anything.
Yeah, I mean,
like nothing personal.
Nothing.
Like on a group, you will share like what you're drinking and eating, like one meal. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I'm actually, thanks for putting it out there.
One meal.
But yeah, so it really takes courage to do stuff like this. And
but that's what I'm saying.
And hats off to you guys for that.
Like I honestly, so you know, my perception of how I live my life changed quite a bit after I had a very bad breakup, you know that. So I think after that happened, I was still a little cautious about how I portray myself in front of people. I know it didn't seem like even back then, but at least in terms of, when you have, or maybe it's the age, it's, how you become wiser when you grow up. I know that I used to hold back. Like you said, a lot of people have thoughts. Every thought doesn't have to be put out, right?
True.
I think I reached a stage where I was like, I think all my thoughts are awesome, and I think all my thoughts need to be put out. So there are times when I'll just share an Altaf Raja upcoming gig or something on the 28th of October, 1st November, or he's playing tonight somewhere, I think somewhere in UP. So I follow Altaf Raja and I will give my thoughts on his stories and his reels, because why not? I am a fan. Yeah. And, a lot of people think that it might not be cool enough, or you're an actor, so maybe people see your profile and they'll be like, there are a lot of people who send a hi to a Shah Rukh. I'm not that.
I'm sure you must have done it at some time.
No, never. So I'm not that. But then see, that's what I'm saying. Even if Daljit Dosanjh sends a hi to a Kylie Jenner.
Yes.
See? Exactly. So even a Shah Rukh would probably send a hi to, I don't know, actually, no, it's Shah Rukh. Yeah, to me.
Maybe Martin
to
Scorsese
me, inshallah.
or someone.
But exactly, right? So everyone is a fan somewhere. So I think you should be shameless enough and just send those messages and just get into those DMs.
Yeah. That's exactly what
But I don't do DMs. I do it public.
That's exactly what I was referring to, because, as I said, it takes courage to do stuff like this. And also, and precisely for this reason, because you know that when you put stuff out there, then you also might get judged. Like, for example, if you reply to Altaf Raja or Altaf Raja song, and people are like, okay, dude, yeah. And next day you are like on Coldplay, and you'll be like, you'll be like, bhai, kya chal raha hai?
Kya personality hai ladki?
It's like one day.
Confuse people. Yeah. But that's what I do. Like my sister and I, the other day we booked 2 concerts. She booked both the concerts on the same date and she didn't realize it. So we just book everything. So if I show you my concert diary, Coldplay tickets are the only tickets that I haven't got. But if I show you my concert diary, I am going for Lucky Ali, to DJ Chetas, to Bismil Ki Mehfil, to Cigarettes After Sex, to Bryan Adams, to Shan and Mika. So I listen to everything, and I think I have no qualms of saying that nahi, main ye nahi sunti. A lot of people are like that. Right. Oh, I'm listening to so and so. Come to my gym. I'm listening. I'm listening to Salman Khan 90s music. I forget Salman Khan. I'm listening to Shammi Kapoor music. So I change my music taste like that. And the next day I'll be talking to you about the latest EDM track as well. Right. Actually not. So I listen to everything, and I think I'm quite open about what I listen to. I share that. I share exactly how I am on social media. Even if I'm sad, you'll actually see that in my story. I pretty much treat social media like my BBM status that we used to earlier. So
those days. Yeah.
Those days.
Yeah.
Actually, when you get angry, remove profile photo.
Yeah, that's why I say that's quite commendable, because you don't usually see that. Yeah, both you, I think even Anjali as well. Both of you are like very okay. Interesting about. Let's talk about the green carpet.
Yeah.
Yes, you hosted the IIFA Awards 2024, the green carpet. Of course, not the red carpet for some reason. It is actually green, right?
It is green because they are climate warriors. No, it's for climate
change. Oh, it's like that?
Yeah, that's why it's the green carpet.
You look, I mean, like...
So IIFA has always been about bringing about... creating a conversation about climate change and how to be more conscious and how to go green.
So interesting.
So that is why IIFA is always go green. So green carpet.
I actually didn't know
that. That is why it's the green carpet.
I thought they just wanted to stand out and use a different word,
not
the
green.
Red and green.
No, go green is their motto.
So, how was that experience?
Amazing. So the best part again is hosting this, because Shah Rukh hosted it, and so I keep telling everyone I'm co-hosting it, which is technically true. Right? I'm on the green carpet, he's on the stage. So and ironically, the last time he hosted was in 2014 at Tampa, and that was my last IIFA with Yash Raj Films. So this was the last time he hosted IIFA and he attended IIFA, and then so many years later he's done it today, where I am also hosting it, and so it was like Rab ne bana di jodi. Right. So the experience was amazing. It was again something that I've not done, but I saw the difference between everyone else and how they take up, like again, chatting with someone who's just come in, I will never ask you what you're wearing unless I have to for a brand or whatever, right? So that is what you've seen when as soon as a person comes up to the carpet, oh my God, you're looking gorgeous. What are you wearing? What designer are you wearing? And are you excited about the awards? Chal, awards you'll talk about. But I again have this very personal thing with, I'm a Bollywood child. Like I love movies so much that when I see Vivek Oberoi, it is like I'm seeing a friend जिसकी पिक्चर मैं बचपन से देखते आ रही हूँ. तो my reaction to him is not like, oh Vivek Oberoi, it's not like that. My reaction to him is, अरे Vivek, I listen to your songs in the gym. So my reaction to actors is very different because I don't fangirl over Shah Rukh. I don't fangirl over anyone. I am not someone who will straight up say, oh wow, you're looking amazing, blah blah blah. Fine, you're looking nice, I'll say that. But I think the way I react to people, the way I talk to people is very how a conversation. So, like a Vivek Oberoi, the first thing I said to him was, do you know that I listen to Unke Nashe Mein and company songs every day? Like, I'll actually show you my gym playlist right now. And his wife looks at him and she looks at me and he looks at me and he's like, seriously? Like, yeah. And he's like, okay, wow. I like so and so, blah, blah. And then I said something else. So, you get that shock factor, you get that awe factor. It's something that they've not heard before, right?
Yeah.
So, I think filmy wise, I think Varun Dhawan is a film buff like that. Arjun Kapoor is a film buff like that. I think we're all that same age group where we've all grown up. You don't do you are not that filmy kid at all. So Varun Dhawan, Arjun Kapoor, so we are all those filmy children. Like we've grown up watching Mr. India 50 times. So this is how we react to people. So I have actually done a show on Amazon, which was this live show with Arjun. One show with Pariniti, one show with Sharvari, and one show with Shalini Pandey. So my show with Arjun was, we were a house on fire because we weren't letting the other person talk. It was non-stop yap. That show was supposed to be for half an hour. It went on for 1 hour, 10 minutes because we didn't stop talking. Right. So the same thing happened on the carpet. There are some people that, the managers will tell you that, don't ask too many questions. Some people are not very comfortable giving out a lot of answers. Some people keep it very formal. Some people like to have fun. So it's up to you. It was very interesting to see how you have to gauge personalities. And luckily I had like all good experiences and, none of them know me. So it was very like
refreshing for them as well.
Yeah. And some of them do know me. So it's nice to see how they react to me coming back after so many years because they remember me from my Yash Raj days.
Right.
So, you would suddenly see that, oh my God, this is Neha. So you see that other reaction that you get. So it was very cool.
How did live presenting help you in this thing? Do you think that in terms of sports presenting help you in this?
Yeah, you just become a chatterbox. You just talk.
No, in terms of like the actual execution, in terms of how different is it from a presenting standpoint to where it would be something which is like a green carpet?
I think how it helps probably is because you know that you need to have an opening and an ending. You need to know how to get a segue, or segue is this new word I learned in live presenting. You need to know how to take the segue out of something that you're saying and then how do I take that and end it. And like suppose you've said something that I can't wait for the show to begin and I can't wait to watch Shah Rukh on stage, so I know that I don't want to ask you another question. I'm like, okay, fine, on that note I'm not going to keep you waiting, why don't you just go? There was another girl who came in and she's like, I'm so hungry, I haven't eaten, blah 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 blah. Like, okay, on that note, something you take a segue and you know how to do a clean ending perhaps rather than just a cut.
Right.
So I think that's something that I took from it.
Okay. Draw a picture of what is it like in you gave us an idea of how presenting works, right? Sports presenting. Can you draw a picture of how it actually works on a green carpet?
So if you're doing
what is the sort of prep that you need?
So if you're doing brands, then there are these questions pertaining to the brands that you need to ask or you need to incorporate in your conversation with everyone. So there are about a lot of set of questions and you decide which question you want to use where, that's up to you. But otherwise there's no blueprint to it. Otherwise it is your personality and how you interact with them. So if you're a good dancer, you would probably do steps. You know what I mean? If you're a good singer, you would probably do
so
singing.
That flexibility is there.
Yeah, completely. And for me, though, it was completely given to me. I did one dance step, I did one singing session, I did one. And so like I said, I'm a very emotional, very sensitive person. So there's this song Satranga from Animal. So
I
The
think I
Ranbir
know the
Kapoor song,
song.
this Karwa Chauth song.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the song of the year. So Shreya's the guy who composed that song.
Right.
He was walking the carpet, and before me there were 2-3 other people, right? So he was coming to me, and I could hear him singing that song for everyone. I had tears, and this was the beginning. So obviously, because we were just starting off, you know, there is so much adrenaline rushing. Your emotions are at a high, right? At a high. I had tears in my eyes already because I love that song. And as he walked up to me, he saw the tears in my eyes. He just looked at me like that, and we are live. And I just look at him and I said, you know, I've been hearing you singing this song, so I'm not going to ask you to sing again. But I discussed something else. And then he just looked at me and he's like, I said, yeah, this is the effect your song has on me. I'm actually crying. So he picked a line from the song, is ye teri bhigi aankhein mein rakh lo seene se laga ke, and he sang that for me. I was weeping on camera and I'm like, listen, stop. And then, you know, there was the other song guy who came, who's done Arjun Velli from the movie. So he came and he made me sing Arjun Velli with him. Then Karan Aujla came in and I made him sing. And then there was a dance step with, you know, Bosco. And yeah, you have full flexibility. Yeah.
Is it like really painstaking events like these in terms of like on a presenter?
If you're wearing heels. Because I can't do heels. I cannot do heels.
Draw the picture of that day for us.
Wake up, hair and makeup. So IIFA, again, you are shooting a lot of stuff prior to the main show as well, because there's this Weekend of the Stars thing that you do. So you're shooting a lot of things here and there. But again, yeah, you know, your hair and makeup, outfit, get ready, go to the venue, start. And then it takes about 8 to 10 hours, you know, including show time. And then you have to shoot links as well. But the team is absolutely mind-blowing. Luckily, I still know a lot of people from back in 2014 who are still there. The team is mind-blowing. Like, it's a dream to work with Viscraft. They're amazing people, from the owners to the team that executes IIFA. It's a blast. Like, I remember when I got on board, the first thing they told me is that, you know, obviously you're an artist now, you're not backstage with us like you used to be. So you still have to be a little flexible because you know how the number of hours of working. Like, you know, it's a long time. And you can't be like, chalo 4 ghante ho gaye, I'm tired, 5 ghante ho gaye, I'm tired. Abhi jo karna hai, wo karna hai. And I love working. You will never hear me say, you know, if it's an 8-hour shift or whatever, even if it goes to up to a 10-hour thing, I understand. So I will never be the one to say कि नहीं मुझे बहुत धूप लग रही है, blah blah blah, because you know that the team is there and everyone is working to get one end this thing, right? Like, your goal is the same. So yeah, the team is mind blowing. Yeah, they executed everything perfectly. So it was a blast working with them.
What was the experience like meeting? Did you meet SRK at
So
IIFA?
Shah Rukh, of course, yes. So
what was that experience
personal experiences are not to be discussed on camera.
Generally, but what is the experience? Everybody speaks so highly of him that he's a very warm
He is very warm, very, very, very warm. And you know, he has this knack, and I know that a lot of people have said this. I think everyone who meets him says this, that when he speaks to you, he's only speaking to you. And I think that's brilliant. And it's not something, you can sense how original it is. You can sense how genuine that is. That when he's looking at you, he's actually only looking at you. Like, you know, there was this time when he walked past me at IIFA, he was walking past the carpet, and I just looked at him, and, you know, everyone was taking videos, and I just looked at him, and I don't know if he remembered me or whatever. And he looked at me, and he just did this. And I know that he did it just to me. I know that. So, you know, he has his moments he has his connections with everyone, and I think he gives everyone something to take away. So I think that's brilliant. Like, even if he didn't do it to me, I think someone else who saw it would be like, usne mujhe kiya. So I think he has those moments, and he's fantastic. Yeah, the energy is so different when he just walks in. He's such a warm person. Like, there's no intimidation. Even though, you know, he's Shah Rukh Khan, you'll never be like, you know, Shah Rukh aa gaya. No, it's not that. Shah Rukh aa gaya with the biggest smile. It's like Shah Rukh aa gaya.
Are there a lot of other stars who tend to be intimidating when you...
It also depends on the kind of a person you are, na? Like, if you do get intimidated, if you do become like those, like, you know, for me, Shah Rukh aa gaya is like, Shah Rukh aa gaya with the smile. But there are some actors who, like, I think the persona is like the aura is different. Like, you know, when they walk into a room, they own the room, but then they own the room in a way where everything goes hush. That's their aura. So everyone has their thing. And I think it's very important to have different kind of auras as well. No, otherwise, how would we identify the Shah Rukh aura?
What was the most, very cliched actually question. What was the most fun actor to interact with? And please don't tell me Shah Rukh Khan.
No. So the most fun actor to interact with, I think, was Vijay Varma, and you have to see why, because I'm a bit of a smart ass. Okay, so like whenever I do like whatever, whenever I'm chatting, I crack a joke obviously, but everyone doesn't have the wit to, they'll obviously everyone will smile and say, but my joke are not personal jokes, right? They're just jokes, and that is my job there. But Vijay Varma just gave me a one up, and he had the most brilliant comeback within a nanosecond, which I wasn't expecting at all. And I just looked at him and I went. So that way, I think Vijay Varma was very like a lot of fun to talk to. But I think the best conversation I had was with Abhishek Banerjee. And that is because of Shah Rukh. So Abhishek Banerjee and I met Shah Rukh together for the first time ever in 2020 or 2019, I think. And Abhishek Banerjee used to be a casting director, and I used to do auditions with him. So both of us used to dream of acting, and someday we'll make it, and blah blah, etc. And then we were at a party together, and both of us are ogling at Shah Rukh, and both of us the biggest Shah Rukh Khan fans, and we were like, देख हम कहाँ से कहाँ तक आ गए कि हम एक private party पे जहाँ पे Shah Rukh Khan है, and this is the first time we are here. How will we talk to him? होगा कि नहीं होगा? And like of course we went and spoke to him, etc. So we met Shah Rukh for the first time, and then I met him on the green carpet, where I was hosting the green carpet and he was hosting IIFA Rocks the next day. So it's like we've met at such different parts of our journey, and see where the end result keeps bringing us higher and higher. And look at him where he is now. So I think that was a very cool conversation that both of us, and he didn't know I was on the green carpet. So as soon as he came in, he was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh my God. And then we spoke about, audition days. And then I was like, you remember we met Shah Rukh together? He's like, oh my God. And today I am hosting with Shah Rukh. So he's like, imagine, so today Shah Rukh is hosting IIFA, Abhishek is hosting IIFA Rocks, Neha is hosting the green carpet. And 4 years ago, we were all in a party where like, how do we talk to Shah Rukh? How do we talk to Shah Rukh? How do we talk to Shah Rukh? So yeah, that was a very, very cool conversation.
Is, like you mentioned this earlier, but is that schedule like really inhumane, or in terms of like really hectic? I know it's a great team that you have around, but
it is very hectic. But I think the film industry is like that. See, the thing is, when there are so many actors involved, you can't have. There are so many rehearsals involved, there are so many shoots involved, that everything happens simultaneously. So you have to be a little flexible about किसी की flight late हो गई, कोई सो गया, किसी का wardrobe में issue हो गया, कुछ और हो गया, कोई late land हुआ, ये वो इधर उधर चीज़ हो जाती है. So when you say inhumane, मतलब a film set, I think is inhumane. First of all, like shooting schedules are like that. Like even sports schedules, to be honest, like the schedules are like that. It's not a corporate job, and that's not what you sign up for. You're not signing up for a 9 to 5. You cannot say कि 8 घंटे की shift to 8 घंटे की shift, unless you're like they have their like makeup people and hair people and sports, etc. They have their union that they only do 8-hour shifts or 1.5 or 2-day shifts हो जाता है or whatever. But I think as an actor, you can't really decide कि मैं सिर्फ 8 घंटा काम करूँगा, मैं सिर्फ 10 घंटा काम करूँगा. And as long as you're taken care of, I think it's fine. As long as you're comfortable, I think it's fine. And obviously, they're not going to push you to an extent कि they know गर्मी है, they know धूप में खड़ी है, they know पसीना आ रहा है, तो उनको भी पता है कि इतना काम करके निकाल देंगे. मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि पूरा ही जोड़ देंगे. So yeah.
But is it so? Would it be right for whatever? Inhumane, I think, is a very strong word. Of course, I don't.
Inhumane.
But
waking me up in the morning only is inhumane.
But is sports presenting more structured than it is?
Yeah. Sports presenting is structured because there are no time changes. Everything is time to time to time to time. It's very inhumane when you have to travel in sports presenting, because you're flying to a new city. So when you're flying to a new city every day, you are walking like a zombie, because you're flying to a new city every day and you're doing a game in that city, and then you take the first flight out, you reach, you finish a game, you're back to your hotel room at about 11 in the night, and then your first flight out is some 5 or 6 a.m. flight, and your airport is 2-3 hours away, so you leave at 3:30 a.m. and then you reach another city. And luckily, if you're not doing a game that day, then you have a rest day. But then if you're doing a game back to back, then that same day you're doing another game and going to another city. So the sports travel gets to you, especially if you're in front of the camera, it gets to you completely. But it is a lot of fun. Like why will, like I can't lie, it's a lot of fun because you become a part of a team, right? So I think once that happens, when the entire unit works together, I think it's a lot of fun.
It's very interesting actually, because when you mentioned this and I clicked, somewhere I read, or I think I saw someone's interview wherein they were talking about the IPL, and I think they were asked what's the most difficult thing when you're doing this, and they also said travel. Because in a 40-day tournament, you're literally traveling like every city, every second day.
So even if you're doing 25 games, you're doing 25 games. Like, you know,
that's
there is...
a lot.
Yeah. So I used to only sleep on board. That's it. Like your eating schedule's gone for a toss. Everything goes for a toss. But that's the thing, no? So I used to always say that a lot of people, so like a lot of parties, obviously, a lot of dinners and, you know, drink at the airport and chill at the airport, etc. But if you're in front of the camera, I used to be very conscious because obviously I'm in front of the camera. So I can't look a certain way. I can't look like I've not slept. Everyone else who's behind the camera, they can party away to glory and not sleep and party and do another game. They can be awake for 3 days and nobody cares, because as long as they're doing their job right, which they do. So I have to make sure that I don't look like that on camera. I have to make sure that I get my sleep, because the day I don't get my sleep, I know there are dark circles. I know, you know, it shows. And then obviously because you're on live camera, you can't let your concentration go. That is one of the things.
Yes,
so that like so the travel, that is when the travel gets to you, because you have to be, you know, on the job.
Switched on.
Yeah.
It's a lot like the conversation as well. Like when so that's what I tell them as well. I was telling you as well that the days like when you're actually shooting like back to back, because you know you have to invest a lot of energy into a podcast, right? Because when you're talking, you need to be switched on. You need to know, okay, what is the direction that we can go? Because it's not rehearsed. As you know, I told you as well, we don't have pre-prepped questions. It's just the conversation, it flows. So there were days like in the initial time when we started, and actually we shot like at a time in between where we shot like 3 days or 4 days in a row. And I'm telling you, on the 4th day or 5th day, I just
turned off.
I was like done. I was like, I'm gonna stay home today and work from home, because 2.5, almost 3 hours, you're like concentrating, you're like listening, you're talking. Then goes like the research behind who's coming, what needs to be spoken about and stuff like that. So I can completely imagine. It's genuinely, it really sucks the energy out of you.
It does. But you know, there are also withdrawal symptoms, and I think I don't know if you connect to that, or I don't know if like when I finish a project, I am treated like a princess on the project, right? Whatever I do, I get princess treatment on the project, right? So when you go back home, okay, you're like, you know, you've given so much energy and you finished a project and you've given so much energy. Like when I say princess treatment, I mean obviously, you know, because you're the girl, like at least in sports, you know, you're the girl, so everyone's taking care of you, and you know, everyone's giving you attention. You're the host, you're the anchor, so you know, your hair, makeup is happening constantly, you're looking pretty, all of that is going on. Then you go back home and everything is off. And then suddenly you're in your pajamas and, you know, and you wanted to be off for a certain time because there was so much noise for so long. That is when, you know, you kind of start missing it. But then you're also physically tired. But I think that mental exhaustion also happens. I don't know how to explain it to you, that there are times when I've given so much energy that when I come back home, I only want to wind down for that night perhaps. If you take too long, then you fall into another sort of abyss, where you're isolated for too long. And you know, that also plays, because sports happen 6 months is your season time, right? And if you're not doing something else, if you don't have anything else to fall back on, then you're sitting at home, or then you're meeting your friends and you're doing all of that. But I'm not someone who does that anyways. So I think after COVID, this happened to me, that I finished ISL, I came back home, you know, I'm with my dog, I'm very happy. I was in a bio bubble for 5 months and, you know, I was missing friends and family. And I came back and I didn't meet friends and family, and I was just sitting at home spending time with my dog, and I just fell into another abyss where I wanted to just be me. No hair, makeup, no going out, no getting ready, no socializing, no talking to anybody for 2-3 months at a stretch. I don't want to be on a diet. I don't want to work out. So it's just a very different thing. So I think you constantly have to keep yourself very busy, because you get so much bhav and attention, and you get so used to the limelight that when it goes away, you either start enjoying it so much or get used to it so much that it's very difficult to get out of this as well.
Practically, for you to come back.
Yeah, like I know a lot of people miss the limelight. I miss the limelight, but then I start enjoying not being in the light as well. I don't know how to put it across, but I really like to be not seen. Even if a best friend would come and tell me that, I'm coming down to your building, come down and meet me. I'm in my phase where I don't want to be seen. I'm in my phase where I don't want to speak to anyone, and I really like that space a lot. So I don't want to get too comfortable there because it's very difficult to get out of that space as well and then come back into this space, because the next day if you have a shoot, you just have to go again, boom.
Yeah.
Okay, hair, makeup, outfit, and energy.
Yeah.
So it's very tricky.
It's interesting you say this actually, because I think I know a lot of people who especially are part, of course, of the industry, and they're also so used to the limelight, and they usually, like most of the places that they go, always they are the kind of the conversation revolves around them, right? Because everybody's
just used to the attention.
Yeah. Everybody's like, I think Indians are just fascinated by Bollywood, right?
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, so whenever like people like that, and then often you meet friends from the industry and stuff like that, and when you're having this conversation, they also, and then when it's not there, you can actually see their face go like, and they can't. And the thing is that it's very different for different people, right? For people who are possibly in the industry, for them it is a great thing because it's a way to network, it's this and this and that. But then someone who's probably from a corporate world, and again who's doing exceptionally well, probably might be earning like way more than what people are doing. And they're like, I've seen so many of these parties where they go like, okay, yeah, dude, I mean, like, I don't know, I'm just in my own zone.
Exactly.
And then they go like, I've seen so many, they go like, the actors go like, because they are so used to the attention.
Getting the attention.
And I'm like, okay, is everything okay and stuff like that. So it's interesting that you say this actually. It kind of prompted that thought in a couple of experiences that I've had like this with some people that I know, and I was like, okay, this is actually true.
Yeah.
But in terms of energy, like for example, like when you talk about presenting, because you're talking so much, right? Do you like sometimes go into a phase, because people don't actually understand as a presenter, like for example, as I'm talking to you as well, they don't actually get the idea of how much energy is required to do this.
Yeah.
Like for you to talk, for me to talk as well. And sometimes when you go back or when you go retire back to your home, you are like, poof, done.
Yeah.
You're absolutely spent.
You're spent. And I know it's just sitting and talking, but it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of listening. It's a lot of reacting. If I can just sit here and let you speak, and I am trained enough to be, and just wait for a question and then talk. But because it's a conversation, I will cut you in sometimes because I am reacting to what you're saying. So I know that my 100% focus is on you right now. There is no one else.
Right.
And I think that's very difficult to maintain for so long, especially in today's day and age. Like, I can't even sit and watch an entire video. Like, I know people make those 15 seconds. I cannot do 15 seconds. Like, there are so many memes that people send. Like, everybody just send memes. I don't open half of the memes. I just react, and I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth to sit and open memes. I can't. So I think people have lost that reaction time. And I think because now when you have to focus for so long, it actually takes a toll on you.
Spent is a very good word actually.
Spent.
Yeah, because it does. There are days because you actually feel, okay, you know what, I just want to go back, just retire, just watch something, eat, and then call it a day. Yeah.
Trash TV.
Yeah. Great. What's next?
So hosting has really taken off, and it's also something that I really enjoy doing. And as we were discussing before this, I think with this green carpet thing, what I found is my love for live TV and my love for Bollywood came together. So I didn't actually think of hosting an award show or hosting something with the movies or hosting an event for a film or something is not something that I actually thought of as a career profile ever. But you have a Karan Johar hosting, you have a Shah Rukh Khan hosting, so all avenues are open now. But I didn't think that would be something that I would be considered for, or I would be picked for, right? But touchwood, it's taken off, and I'm getting some great offers to host a lot of things. And I actually didn't also think that I would be able to. I'm very self-involved. I'm very actor. So it's always, I didn't think that I would be open enough to try to get to another person's, views and opinions and,
Right.
things like that. But then on the green carpet, I realized I actually had fun doing that. I actually had fun listening to the other person talk to me as well, because otherwise I've just given interviews, right? So now for me to hear someone else to ask those questions, it was actually fun. And it's not like it's a one-way. My only thing is it can never be a one-way conversation,
Right.
because I talk way too much. Like even on the green carpet, I think I was going on and on and on and on. But they didn't mind it. So because I kept it interesting, I kept
Right.
it fun and light.
Right.
So yeah, hosting is really taken off. I've been getting some really good offers, and I'm in talks for a couple of films actually. So fingers crossed. Yeah.
Nice.
But sports is something that I always want to go back to. Yeah, that is something that I always want to keep. It's not a backup plan for sure. It's a great plan, but sports is something that I'll always hold very close to my heart. And yeah, if there's an opportunity, I'll take it up, because that is something I really
no plans
love
to
to
go
do.
back to ISL.
ISL right now has taken a very different production way as to what they are putting out. ISL has shifted to Geo now since after Star,
Right.
their contract ended, right? So ISL right now is not doing shows. They only do shows when they have a very big game like the Derby or something, or then the finals or something, and that too they do it with the commentators. So there is no hosting happening, there is
Right,
no
no
anchor,
presenting.
there's no presenting happening, no. So I think they're still trying to figure those things out. So as and when something like that comes back, I would love to do it, because these guys actually keep asking me, तेरी film आ जाएगी तो तू ISL को करेगी क्या? I say, listen, it's not even about the money. I enjoy sports so much
Right.
that I would just come and do this thing for you. If I'm in the same city, I'll come and I'll do it for free, because it is not work. It
Right.
is just fun. So football is something that is very close to my heart. And even now, whenever these Premier League teams come to India, luckily, like I'm one of the top 2 or 3 people that they contact for hosting the event or hosting the entire gig. So yeah, always.
I
open
think
to that.
recently, I think in Chennai also, when we were there at that time also, I think you.
Yeah. I
You
came
had
there.
something.
Yeah. So I was supposed to meet Gary Neville, but I had an event, and I was invited to meet him, do a meet and greet with him in Chandigarh. But I had an event, so I couldn't make it. But that is something that I missed out on. So this is something that I really want to do. Like my backup plans in life actually are. My sister lives in London, you know that, right? So I just want to go to London and probably spend some time there, watch these Premier League games. Start probably doing a show there, and but my biggest backup of my life is of course flying. So that is something that I'll go back to flying someday. That's my retirement plan actually.
Great. All right. Thank you so much,
Thank
Neha,
you.
for this conversation. I hope it was fun for
It
you.
was 10 on 10. You've still not called me Nikka.
I really so
I think you should finish it with Nikka.
Actually, I was every time when it was coming to my head that I have to say that I was consciously I was like Neha.
Unagi.
Yeah, because I think even for Anjali as well, I told her as well. I don't know if I'll be able to actually call you.
But वो तो at least Anju and Anjali का there's some relation.
yeah.
ना Neha and Nikka तो मतलब
Yeah.
Nikka is bigger than Neha.
Yeah, actually, I don't even have your name as Neha on my
Neha,
phone. So it was different. But see, I mean,
You know when I
Concentration.
entered your office,
Oh,
they
really?
said
Are you
so
serious?
as soon as I entered your office, the first thing
Don't
they
say
said
it
is
on- don't say it
so the
on
first
this,
thing they
okay?
said is आप तो I was like मैं नाम क्या बोलूँ, मेरे को याद ही नहीं आया, मुझे याद ही नहीं आया ना. I said I can't say his pet name in front of his people he works with, right? So I'm just thinking, and they just look at me and they said आप भव्या सर को मिलने आए. I said हाँ उन्हीं को मिलना है मुझे. And I kept thinking and I'm like मुझे नाम क्यों नहीं याद, and of course I know your name.
Yeah.
मुझे उसका नाम but we never take
I
our real
completely
names,
agree,
right?
yeah.
So yeah.
That happens a lot, especially when you meet friends and
Yeah.
you. Since childhood, we always say
Kept those.
nicknames.
So that was the hardest part of this entire conversation and this entire day, I think.
Yeah, I saw a couple of times when you said Bhavya as well. I was like, oh, nice. I was like, that's
Bhavya, actor. Today my role was to act like I know your real name.
great. All right. Awesome.
This
Yep.
was fun.
Yeah, it
Thank
was really
you.
good fun.
Yeah.